I have been the victim of a hair care horror story, and I don't want the same thing to happen to you, so we need to talk about it.
Hi everyone, it's Lana here. Welcome back to Lana Summertime. So I don't know about you, but I have not seen very much Halloween stuff going on at all. I don't know if it's just me, I feel so not spooky. So I just felt like I had to bring the goods and I had to bring the spookiness this year. So here I am with a YouTube video dedicated to horror. Let's talk hair care horror stories and how you can avoid being the victim. Very first Halloween hair care horror story. Once upon a time, imagine this. You spend years crafting the perfect curly hair routine. Your curls have grown, they are luscious, your hair is thriving, and one day you wake up and find that you've accidentally given yourself dreadlocks. Now, don't get me wrong, I love dreadlocks. I love the look of them. I think that they are beautiful, but not when that's not what you were going for. This might sound far-fetched, but I promise you, this is a horror story that happens far more often than you realize. This is what happens when you go for that ultra definition. A lot of us have become addicted and accustomed to that brush styling, the finger coiling, because those have become so popular, especially on TikTok. We are just seeing so many of these techniques for ultra definition. But when you do that all the time, and if you leave it for too long and you leave it just to get tangled, it's a starter lock. And the main difference is that obviously when you're doing the finger coiling, you're just doing it for definition. And at some point you're going to detangle your hair and you're going to wash it again and you're going to get your curls back, right? And the difference with the starter locks is they tell you don't wash it, don't brush it, retwist it if it starts untwisting. That's the difference. But what happens when you have it and you just forget to wash it and you forget to detangle it? It's the same thing. You have to be so careful when you're doing the finger coiling and the brush definition. Just make sure that you detangle that. I've been there. It's not fun. I don't want anyone to ask me why I don't do the brush styling as much as I used to. That's the reason why. That is a surefire way to lose hair through breakage when you're trying to detangle the locks. Anyway, let's move on because I've been on that point for about 10 minutes. Hair care horror story number 2. One day, there was a girl and she had grown her curly hair all the way down to her butt. And she was so proud of her luscious locks. And she walked into the salon and she asked for a trim. She looked down at her phone, scrolled through some TikToks, and when she looked up, her hair was at her shoulders and the rest of it was all on the floor, discarded, cut off, swept away and put in a bin. And the poor girl cried all the way home.
So after spending almost 4 years on a natural hair journey, I decided to invest in a $200 Devakit. All I wanted was a trim, and he gave me a chunky.
This is the kind of story that we all know way too well. This kind of situation is when you walk into a salon and you ask for a curly trim because everybody needs to get a trim once in a while and they take off way too much. What is that about? You either go to an inexperienced hairstylist who doesn't understand that curly hair is going to shrink and they just take off way too much, not realizing just how much that's going to shrink. Or you get someone who's just scissor happy and they want to do their own thing. Or you accidentally give free rein to the hairstylist. That's what I've done in the past. I've just said, oh, do whatever you think that you need to do to make it healthy. And they take a ton of it off. And I just cry. So the way to avoid this is to, first of all, make sure that you see a curly hair specialist. This is going to be the best surefire way to make sure that you don't end up with somebody inexperienced that doesn't know how to work with curly hair. The curly hair stylist is your best bet. Secondly, you're going to need to make sure that you actually communicate with them and tell them exactly how much hair you want off. If you do want a little trim, tell them, I want this much off, because some people see a trim, they think this. Some people see a trim and they think this. And that's a big difference on curly hair. So make sure that you fully communicate. And if you have a particular style in mind, make sure you show them a picture, show them multiple pictures, put together a vision board, help them get the idea of what you want, because they could be thinking of anything and you could think that you're in agreement and you're just not. And then the rest is really up to you. I know a lot of curly hair stylists will prefer to do their cuts on dry hair, but me personally, I prefer to cut my hair when it's wet. I do just feel that I'll be able to make my hair a lot more even, when it's wet. It's also going to be better for if I ever straighten my hair, which I have not straightened my hair in a long time. I just want to make sure that the cut is going to be straight and level when my hair's straight, and also it's going to dry in different lengths and different shapes all the time. So to me, it really just doesn't make sense to cut my hair when it's dry. Look at my hair right now. Yesterday I washed my hair and I used 2 different styling products, and just look at the difference in length that it gave me. And this is the same length of hair. And imagine if you are cutting your hair dry and you think, oh yeah, I gotta match it to this, and you cut it here. And then in reality, you've just made this one so much shorter than this one. Don't become the victim of a hair care horror story. On to the next. Once upon a time, on All Hallows Eve, a girl had waved her hair. Yes, the girl was me. I hadn't straightened it, I had waved it. And I had filmed it for you guys. And I had left the house in a rush, and I chucked bucket loads of hairspray all over my head to hold these waves in because I was scared that I hadn't let them dry fully. So I head out and I went to an event. It was like a preview of Netflix's Crown. We're in this room, it's been done up very classic. The lighting is low, there are goblets on the table, and they'd laid out a big feast. And everyone was sitting there dining, drinking wine. And then they had an announcement. I don't know why they decided to have everyone get up and move to the back of the room for this announcement. It was something like this. It was a while ago, but this is how I remember it happening. We all get up and we go to the back, and then somebody had to walk around, so everybody took another step back. So now I'm right at the back of this dimly lit room. And so we're listening to the speech, and I start to hear crackling, and I could smell smoke. And I thought to myself, something smells like it's burning. I wonder if it's the kitchen, because the kitchen was right there. And I thought, it kind of smells like burnt hair. This part's kind of a blur, but I remember turning to somebody right here. It was a guy and he was tall. He turned to me and he said, "Your hair!" And immediately I knew. As soon as he said it, I knew. I can't even remember if he said "your hair is on fire" or if he just said "your hair," but I knew. And I started going like this. At that moment, I realized that the whole room was lined with candles, and I must have backed right up into a candle. It had latched on to the hairspray in my hair, and the back of my head was on fire. So I'm patting my hair like this. The fear that ran through me at that point, there was no hesitation. I wasn't worried about burning my hand or anything. I just started patting. I don't even know where that instinct came from. I've never been on fire before, so I don't know where I got this idea to just pat it out. I guess it worked, because the flames went out. And then it's kind of a blur. And then I was just, I don't know, dazed or something. Netflix, who were hosting this event, I think they were very worried. I never thought about this before, but I suppose they were very worried about what I might do about that. The fact that they'd had those candles and they'd had so many people smushed into this area. And it was a fire hazard. I haven't thought about it that way until now, but I guess it was a fire hazard. They didn't want me to sue them, I guess. I don't know, maybe they were just being nice as well. But yeah, they were just checking, making sure I was okay. So you know the phrase, shaking in your boots? I didn't even know what that meant until that moment. My legs were like jelly. I could feel my ankles knocking around inside my boots. I was so shaky at that moment, and I felt like I was gonna faint. I had just had so much fear rush through me, so much adrenaline when I realized my hair was on fire. I remember them saying to me, "You need a shot of whiskey, let's get you some whiskey." And I was like, no, I just want some water. So I sat there and I drank my water. And in the end, I sat there for the rest of the dinner, just convinced that I had a huge bald patch in the back of my hair, or I was going to have a huge chunk of hair missing. And I was too scared to look, and I was too scared for anyone to tell me. And I had to go home. I told my family about it, and I searched for the piece of hair that was missing. And thankfully, so thankfully, it's a little chunk of hair like this. It was gone, mind you, because my hair was very long and I had a chunk of hair in the back of my head that was only this long, and the rest of it was just gone, burnt off. That could have been so much worse because I had so much hairspray on my hair. And of course, it just so happens that I backed into a candle that night. So pretty obvious way to avoid this hair care horror story is to not walk into any candles. If you are planning to walk into any candles, maybe don't wear so much hairspray. But obviously hairspray is very useful. I still use hairspray now. But also, if you don't want to just dry out your hair with hairspray, you could also use a nourishing oil on your hair before the hairspray. And if you can't do that, use a hairspray that is infused with oil, like the Moroccan oil hairspray. It's infused with argan oil. Or you can try an alcohol-free hairspray like the one by Curlsmith. And this is going to be a much better option than just normal, plain, cheap hairspray. Halloween horror story. I feel like I'm doing like Treehouse of Horrors from The Simpsons. Hair care horror story number 4. There was once a girl with a luxurious mane of curly hair. It was so long and thick that it inspired envy in everyone that gazed upon her. And this story is about a girl named Georgia. So a lot of you might be familiar with Georgia. I think she's the sweetest girl, and I think she's so beautiful. And one of the things that I love about her so much is that she's always serving looks. She's always served looks, and she's always pushed boundaries. I want to say it was about a year ago. Georgia went platinum blonde. Not just like a little bit of highlights, not just a little bit of bleach. It was a lot of bleach. And it looked amazing. Of course it looked amazing. It's Georgia. She always looks amazing. But she will be the first one to tell you that that wrecked her hair. And I was looking at her TikTok the other day, and actually I just want to put it here so you guys can hear straight from her.
Here's 4 things that I've learned since going blonde that I believe led to my hair breaking off.
In the end, she ended up having to cut her hair into a bob, and I guess she's slowly going to be growing out the rest of that hair now that is still lighter. She's kind of blended the colors a bit now, but she's going to try now to grow that out, and her hair is very short now. Luckily for her, it looks amazing. I think she looks so lovely with her hair in that short bob. So in her video, she talks about some of the mistakes that she made when she was bleaching her hair. First of all, she did it all in one go. No gradual lift, no highlights, nothing. Just a great load of bleach, which was really damaging. Secondly, she was topping up her roots, which then caused the bleach to overlap. Every time she was topping up her roots, it was overlapping the bleach, which is essentially bleaching the same hair multiple times, which was just insanely damaging to her hair. Thirdly, she was also using intense heat as well as bleach, which is just such a drastic combo. Then she says that she wasn't really deep conditioning her hair, which is an absolute must when you have bleached hair. So here's my advice on how to avoid becoming a victim of a horror story like this. Obviously, first of all, avoid bleach. If you want to color your hair, I would recommend highlights. And if you have any kind of bleach on your hair, make sure you're deep conditioning your hair, and you're also going to have to do some bond repair treatments as well. Think Olaplex number 3, the K18 products. There's also some great leave-in conditioners by the likes of Redken, and of course all of my favorites, which are just too many to count. Just a lot of amazing deep conditioners that you can use. So that's how to avoid becoming the victim of a bleach monster. Number 5. So there was once a story of a little girl who had actually quite nice curly hair, pretty healthy, but she didn't like it, and she wished for a pair of straighteners. And when she got the straighteners, she decided to make it her mission to use them every day until her hair was dead. And then she had zombie hair, and it was frazzled, and it was dry, and it looked horrible, and the curls couldn't come back to life no matter what she did. So this is my own personal story, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of you can relate. This is why there's so many curly hair channels, and this is definitely why I started my channel, and this is why I'm even here right now, is because there was so much pressure to straighten your hair, especially in the 90s and the 2000s. There was no guidance for curly hair. There was no representation for curly hair. If you had curly hair, you had to straighten it. That was the only thing you could do. That was the only thing you were allowed to do, or that would be acceptable to do. That's how it felt anyway. If you want to avoid becoming a hair care horror story because of heat, then this is what you need to do. Look for representation, because there's tons of it now. There's so many channels and influencers that you can look towards. There's people on TV now just wear their hair natural, and it's amazing. So that's number 1. That should help you to feel more confident in wearing your curly hair. Number 2, if you do decide that you want to straighten it, or you just think that that suits you better, which is perfectly okay, and you're absolutely entitled to do whatever you want with your hair. It's your hair, it's your head, and you can do whatever you want with it. If you don't want to damage your hair in the process, then make sure that you keep an eye on the heat. Don't let your straighteners get too hot. Don't go higher than 220 Celsius, and that's already very hot. You know, don't do it too often. Don't be like me. I was doing it every day, and sometimes I was doing it when my hair was wet still, because I didn't have time to let it fully dry. So it'd be like damp and it'd be sizzling. Just so bad. Don't do that. Use some heat protection. Make sure you're doing your deep conditioning treatments. Do not let yourself become a victim of a hair care horror story because of heat. I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I really hope that you learned something. If you did, please thumbs up the video. It would mean everything to me. Thank you so much for watching it. I really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications. Do not become a hair care horror story. Take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.